call. Mortgage mum Sally Mitchell is a mortgage broker from Great Dunmow. Hello, Sally.
Morning.
Were you nodding your head whilst Jake was just telling us about his situation? You must have heard that story 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times over.
Yeah, it happens a lot. I mean, especially now in the last year where interest rates have gone up, the cost of living has squeezed everybody to, well, the nth degree. It's even more of a problem. I see it a lot because if you're at that situation or in that situation, normally the first thing you need is some expert advice. So we always get the tricky cases, and there's two parts to it really. There's not having enough deposit to put down, a chunk against your property, but then also the affordability aspect of the mortgage, with the rates going higher and lenders tightening their stress testing. You really have to be earning a lot more than you were before to get past their affordability checks. So someone like Jake is stung from both sides. He was spending money on rent, so he wasn't able to save up for a deposit. But also his expenditure with his flight training, etc., means that he doesn't have an awful lot of cash at the end of every month to demonstrate that he can afford a higher interest rate. So yes, it's very tough for them.
What did you make of Jake's point? And again, you must have heard it. Look, I can rent a home, and I have rented a home for a number of years, paying this monthly fee. So if I can do that and prove that I can do that, surely that should hold some sway when it comes to trying to get a mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, it does in a way. I mean, actually there was a building society who launched a product not very long ago that took into account your rental record. If you had rented for 18 months and never missed a payment, you got a sort of a free tick on their credit check. So that was helpful. Keeping up with your bills, whether it's rent or payments on a car or credit card, and keeping your bank account in very good health, so not going overdrawn, really does help when it comes to passing credit checks with lenders. So it is important, and they will sometimes take a reference from your landlord if you've not owned a property before, to make sure that you have got that history of making your regular payments. So it is important. But when it comes to a mortgage, the lenders are really looking at your future stability and security. So almost what's happened before, unless it affects your credit file, is not as important as what it's going to be like in the future. So they will look at your future commitments. So, for example, with Jake, he should be able to demonstrate on a budget planner or affordability check that he won't be paying these high fees for his flight training going forward. So he will actually have more money in the future than he does now. And that could really help sway a lender to his in his favour.
And what impact does this have on the family unit, if you like, Sally, where a number of people Jake's age are going, we cannot afford this deposit, so they're leaning on relatives to get help? I mean, that's quite a big. That can be tricky. It can be complicated. It can be money that was saved up for a rainy day, etc., that will go on then. It's causing quite a few issues, isn't it?
It can do. I mean, and first of all, we're seeing an awful lot of people, especially couples, moving back home, as Jake said he's done. Now that can cause, love your family to bits, but that can cause some tension and difficulty. It means that parents who perhaps were thinking about being able to downsize and move to that cottage overlooking the sea aren't able to do that because they're not getting rid of their 20-something-year-old children. I'm in that boat. Both of mine live at home. They can't afford to have their own places and don't want to spend money on dead money on rent, as Jake said. But also, if you're looking to your parents to subsidise your deposit, that money's got to come from somewhere. And so many older people are putting off their retirement because they need to earn the money to pay for their own mortgages or the cost of living, etc., as I've said. And there's more and more people splitting up. We're seeing that an awful lot where you've had a family home, or as a couple you've had your home, and suddenly you need two homes. And that can cause an awful lot of pressure on people. And sometimes we're seeing children, so Jake should watch out. We're seeing children who have reached a certain point in their career actually turning round and having to help their parents because they want to downsize because they're splitting up or separating, whatever. So it's across the whole family dynamic at every level, sort of in forward and reverse. It's quite a fascinating time to be trying to sort out people's mortgages, I have to say. So Jake, watch out, you could be next.
Sally, we'll leave it there. Sally Mitchell, a mortgage broker from Great Dunmow. I'm sure Jake's parents are very happy in their relationship, by the way. But lots of interesting points coming up there from both Sally and Jake, and if you are someone who's in the middle of that, whether you are as Sally says in the reverse, if you like, you're trying to downsize and you can't because there's people living in your house, or you have a young person in your family, the traditional thing, I suppose, if there is any kind of tradition or the rule, there's no real rules on this, is there? But you hit 16, you hit 17, you hit 18, you go to university or you go to college or whatever, you come back after 3, I don't live here anymore, and then you go and flee the nest, maybe early 20s. I don't know that. I'm just kind of, that seems to me is the way things were. May not be the case anymore. So if you want to have a conversation, have a chat about this today, feel free to share your experiences right here in Essex of trying to get on the property ladder.